Welcome to the ARC Entrepreneur Podcast, the podcast where ideas ignite, clarity strikes, and those aha moments are born.
We're not just talking about business, we're sparking connections and uncovering real solutions for real entrepreneurs.
We'll sit down with the experts and business thought leaders and shine a light on the everyday entrepreneurs, the ones grinding it out in their shops, offices, even their living rooms.
Whether you're dreaming of launching the next big tech startup, growing a side hustle, or just finding smarter ways to support your family, this is the place for you.
So let's spark something great together. Welcome to the ARC Entrepreneur Podcast. Let's dive in. All right. Well, welcome to the ARC Entrepreneur Podcast. We're excited to be back again another week. Had a great interview last week with Nathan McIntosh. Just had some great stuff hearing, especially such a huge industry in real estate here in the Gulf area and the Panhandle. Hearing somebody that's doing it not just well, but doing it in a way that honors God and honors the people that he serves. And it was just incredible to kind of hear that. And I know he's a great friend of ours and a great friend of the show. We're going to have him back and hopefully get his wife back on here and hear that kind of perspective as well from her going through all that, having to make that decision of leaving a full-time job.
That safety net and taking that giant leap out into the real estate market and, seeing where that thing goes to.
I think we ought to just have a spouses only podcast. Just have all our past guest spouses come on and tell us what was it like from your side.
That's right.
We have to get our own spouses on to agree to do that first.
Well, mine's already turned it down, so
every single time. I
think.
If
we can get one of our guest spouse on, then maybe we can turn.
She already said peer pressure doesn't work on her. So
that's true.
I don't know if that's going to work, but
we'll see.
We're really excited. We have a great guest for us this week that we will introduce here in just a moment. But first and foremost, our sponsor, the sponsor that has really made a huge impact and has made a lot of this possible for us, is Overpower Marketing. They've been a great partner for us and the radio station as well. But they're a digital marketing company here in Pensacola. Overpower Marketing is a premier full-service digital marketing agency with over a decade experience in the Panhandle. They have some exclusive deals just for our ARC listeners. So if you're a small business owner, you're looking for an affordable way to really improve the process and systems of your marketing and your marketing plan, we've got some great deals for you. They've got 50% off for the very first 3 months for your reputation management as well as your social media marketing, which is an incredible deal for you. Also, if you use the coupon code ARC, A-R-C, your first month of your OPM tools are just $1. And that is the tools that enables you to newsletter automation, to auto response. Their AI systems are unbelievable. We got to hear, we're going to play that at one point. AI takes care of all the phone calls. It's unbelievable. You can't even tell it's an AI. It's very unbelievable, especially if you're in a business that it relies heavily on booking and getting that kind of funnel information from your customers. You can reach them at overpowermarketing.com, or you can send them an email at info@overpowermarketing.com, or call them at
850-972-2666.
Gotcha. Awesome. Fantastic. Awesome.
Got it right this week.
We did. I left off a number last week, so I apologize, Overpower Marketing, if your sales numbers took a dip as a result. Go ahead. Derek has got a special guest. He knows our guest here today.
Yeah, so we got a great, wonderful guest here, Kaitlyn Graye, nurse practitioner with Evolve Medical. Welcome.
Hi, I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Wow. It's been, I met you about, I think I was looking back 3 years ago.
Probably at least. It all blends together, I feel like.
It does. Yeah. Back when we had the mask that covered half our face and we couldn't really tell who each other were.
Yep. Back then I wasn't a business owner. I was a business owner's wife. So if you guys ever have that podcast, I can speak from both sides.
Yeah.
Gave me a lot of perspective.
That's right. Yeah. So, and a lot has changed in that short 3 years.
It has.
3 years probably doesn't feel like a lot.
Has it only been 3 years?
Or it doesn't feel short in the goings of it, but then looking back,
it goes fast.
Yeah, it goes by real quick.
A lot can happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I actually found one of my old masks.
Did you?
4 or 5 months ago when we moved. And I burned it.
You burned it?
I did. I didn't need to, but I did. I did.
Symbolic. It was symbolic.
That's right.
It felt better.
Yeah. So Evolve Medical.
Yes, Evolve Medical.
Yeah. And I saw on your Facebook that you were awarded Woman of the Year Best Weight Loss Provider.
Yes, that was amazing. I actually didn't even know I was in the running for that. Some of these things that go on where you're voting for different businesses and advertising, they're so hard to keep up with so many of them. So when somebody first sent me the email that I won, I thought it was spam. Don't worry about that. And then it came back through. My manager was like, "No, I know what this is." And I was like, "Oh, okay, call him back." So that was a good thing to be nominated for. It's always nice whenever word of mouth or recommendations from your clients get you some recognition in the community.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're doing a good job.
That's right. Yeah. Well, phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So tell us what is Evolve Medical?
So Evolve Medical is an obesity medicine practice. We focus on weight management, weight loss and weight management, but we definitely do it from a different approach than I think most people are familiar with. We try to focus on the whole patient. Obesity is a complex disease. Medications are absolutely included in most of our plans. They're not required, but we also try to teach people the other tools that they need to lose this weight and keep it off. So we're going to educate them on behavioral therapy. We're going to educate them on nutrition. We're going to educate them on physical activity. And we're going to make sure that we provide the support that they need to not just lose the weight, but to maintain their weight. I always like to tell people it's kind of like cardiology. When you have a heart problem, you're seeing your cardiologist a lot, maybe all the time. And then when everything's good and you're maintaining, we space out those visits and we kind of just check in.
Yeah, but you still check in. So
Absolutely.
It's not like, hey, I made it through this heart attack. I'm good for the rest of my life.
And we used to look at weight like that. But I think over the last several years, over the last decade, the medical community and society has started to really realize, hey, this is more than just eat less, move more. It's more complex than just calories. And so it's nice to see weight bias is changing. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of conversations, but we're starting to move toward treating it like the chronic disease that it is and addressing it from a multifaceted approach that is just not one size fits all for people.
Mm-hmm. I think we're seeing obesity levels in our country unlike any time in our history. And
we are.
I think it's putting not just a burden on the people that struggle with it, but as the whole system. I mean, the medical system is. I mean, how many diseases can be related back to?
Over 200.
Wow.
Over 60 cancers. So a lot. So we've been very reactive in medicine for a really long time. So I think our society is trying to take more of a proactive approach, but it just takes a lot of change and a lot of advocacy from multiple levels to get insurance payers to recognize it, and maybe doctors, and just a lot of push. But I think we're ready for change. Sure.
Yeah. So your clinic is you take insurance and things like that, or is it kind of out of pocket, or how does it?
We actually decided not to take insurance for visits. Why I would love to take insurance as a small business owner. Those of you who don't deal with insurance, sometimes it might take 3 or 4 months to get reimbursed. And I didn't want to start out in the red. It's not that we may never take insurance, but we don't take insurance for visits, although we will use patients' insurance for medications. We'll process prior authorizations, order labs through their insurance, even provide them with a super bill and education on how to get reimbursed from their insurance company if they have out-of-pocket or out-of-network benefits. We try our best to make it affordable and accessible, but I also want to stay open.
Sure.
So,
always
no balance. Insurance right
That's
now.
important.
Always the balance. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about you. We'll talk more about your business as well, but I want to hear about you. What brought you to this point? Maybe a little bit about your life, and what brought you to that point? You said, "Hey, I'm going to do this on my own." And take that step.
So I am a Pensacola native. I've been here for over 30 years. I love this community. I never thought I'd be a business owner because I was married to one. And I was like, this household cannot handle 2 businesses. Could you imagine both of your wives opening a business? It's nuts.
Yeah.
So I've been in healthcare for more than a decade. I love taking care of people. And actually, I didn't want to go into healthcare initially. When I was in high school, I was in a marketing program, and I thought I wanted to own a business. And then my senior year, I got pregnant. And I was like, business is really uncertain. And I decided I wanted to be a nurse because my cousin was a nurse, and it was a 2-year degree, and that's what I did. And I will tell you, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. This is what I was meant to do. So I went into healthcare. I was a nurse for maybe 8 years, decided I wanted to go back to school, get my graduate school degree, become a nurse practitioner, have a little more autonomy over the care that I gave and the decision making throughout my patient's treatment plan. I went to University of South Alabama, and I started out here in an obesity medicine, internal medicine clinic back in 2020. Actually, the first month of the pandemic, speaking of masks.
Congratulations.
So I thought I was going to get let go because, the last to
Right.
hire is first to
Yeah.
fire whenever
Yeah.
you're making cutbacks. So, I did that for about 3 years and then decided to open my own practice. Funny, my mentor in that clinic, I was a student and then I ended up getting hired on after graduation. She told me, she was like, "You're not going to be here long." And I was like, "You're crazy. I love this job. I don't think I'm ever going to go anywhere." She said, "You're not going to stay here." She saw something in me that I didn't see. I love that job and I will never probably do another job. I'll just do it for myself now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize, especially when they're at that critical point of trying to decide what am I going to do for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go into the medical field. I went to a college that I think 20% of every graduating class was a nursing class.
Yeah.
'Cause it was
Yeah,
just
there's a lot of nurses now.
More nurses were needed, especially 20 years ago when I went to college. I think medicine was pretty new back then, and they just needed people in. But I think they think sometimes when they go into the medical field, I've got to work at a hospital. I'm going to be working at an office for somebody for the rest of my life. But there are options in the entrepreneurial world, in the medical world, that I know I'm not really familiar with. So, that's why I was excited to have you on. That you can kind of explain, what are opportunities in that medical world for people with an entrepreneurial spirit like yourself, and people go, I can do this out on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I always like to tell people is if you see a need in a niche, you just have to figure out how to market it and open your business. There's a need for all kind of things. So I love taking care of people. I knew that first and foremost, but I think most of us can agree that healthcare is a strained system right now. So I think lots of people on both sides, those of us who work in healthcare and those of us who are receiving healthcare, really want to see some change. It's just hard and it's complex. But I think whenever I went into medicine, I knew I wanted to take care of people, but I became a little frustrated with not being able to be heard when I saw something that wasn't something I agreed with or something that I saw that needed to change. And when you're in a big organization, it's hard to be heard. Whenever you open your own business, it's easy to make those changes when you see the need. So I tell people, whatever you think you can do, it's probably possible. You're seeing nurses pop up these IV clinics. I think there's a really big drive for wellness right now, especially after the pandemic.
Sure.
I think that brought upon a lot of motivation for many of us to just take care of ourselves because that seemed to be the only thing that really gave us any line of defense in the pandemic. I think that we're seeing a lot more clinics going cash pay because of the strains on the insurance system. And some of that I agree with. Those of us who want to spend more time with our patients, we want to educate our patients more. I definitely think some clinics open it for the money, but like with any business, when you open it strictly for the money, you're going to burn out quick.
Sure.
Yeah.
You better love what you do.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's the trend I've loved seeing since the pandemic. People are starting to think about the healthcare industry in a much different way.
Yeah, they are.
Because I think we felt really helpless about it for a long, long time. It was almost like the government. We just lumped it all together. Well, there's nothing we can do about it. That's just how the insurance company is. It's just how hospitals are.
It's just how
That's
doctors
just how
are.
it is.
Yeah.
We didn't really realize, oh, wait, most of those hospitals are private businesses.
They are. They are.
I mean, if not, 90% or more of them are. We're like, well, more people can do it and do it differently.
Yeah.
I know some big players, even Walmart came out with cash only clinics, that were doing, X-rays for $200.
Right.
Trying
to make it a little more affordable.
It was just, and it blew my mind because I was like, healthcare is affordable.
It can be.
It can be affordable and it can be high quality. We just got to be think differently about it, especially the amount of technology and even telehealth.
Right.
I think has changed the face, and I think the pandemic helped really accelerate
it did.
that.
It pushed that a lot.
And now you've got clinics that are just pretty much telehealth. My wife and I, we were self-employed, so we had, the kind of the co-op kind of employee, health insurance. But most of all we used was telehealth because we could just sit in the house. Hey, kid's sick. Here's what the kid looks like, right?
Or you're at work and it's hard to get away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's changed the way that we look at healthcare. And I think it's addressed a need. I always have more confidence in a private sector, an entrepreneur that's out there that says, I need to do it differently. Not only is there a niche, but I've got to do this in a way that's affordable for a lot of people that I'm trying to reach.
Right.
And being able to do that. So how do you do that? How do you go about hey, businesses have to make money. You want to be successful. Maybe the people I'm reaching aren't going to be the ones that are going to have a lot of disposable income as well, but how can I reach the most amount of people and also run a successful business? How did you go through that kind of process of being able to identify those factors?
I think accessibility to healthcare is really, really important to me. So I wanted to make sure that I picked a price point that wouldn't limit access to a few, but it needed to be a price point that could support my mission. There's a saying, where there's no money, there's no mission, and that is so true. I mean, even in hospitals and organizations that are corporate and take insurance, sometimes people don't really realize on the opposite end of that spectrum, there's metrics that they need to meet to get the maximum amount of payment. The average amount of time that a primary care provider in the United States gets to spend with their patient is 7 minutes. And that's not because they want to, but there's charting, and then there's paperwork, and you want to make sure that you've coded it correctly, and there's just so much that goes into just staying open that you almost have to be overloaded and double booked, and as a result, sometimes quality goes down.
Sure.
I like to remind patients it's probably not your primary care provider's fault. It's just how the system is rolling. So that made me choose to go cash pay. I picked a price point that was pretty low, and I even had a couple, I wouldn't say, I think it's fair. Let me not say low. It's fair. A couple of my colleagues in the same industry reached out to me when I first opened, and they were like, "Oh, that's too low. You know, you don't want to undercut the market with everybody around,
Sure. Right?
But you also want to make sure that you're pricing it for your patients." I wanted my patients to be able to come to me. I have some colleagues that maybe want to see a few clients and charge a really premium price and spend even more time and more value, and that's absolutely fine, but I wanted to make it accessible so that everybody could afford it if they prioritized it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they saw value in it.
Yeah, I think that's, again, in a free market, you want to have people that are serving a very small group, and you want to have people that are going to come in and try to serve as many people as humanly possible. Having that kind of balance, because they keep each other in check.
They do.
You know, they're going to pull each other.
Yeah.
And you're right. We've talked with several people on this same podcast who started the business and started off way too low on their pricing.
Yeah.
They started realizing that communicated their quality and commitment to their customers as well. You know, so there's that weird balance there as well. You want to be affordable, but you'll price yourself so low, people go, wow, that's
probably not worth it.
It's probably
right,
all online.
right.
You know,
Yeah, pricing is a big factor, and a lot of times people just don't get it right out the gate.
No.
Sometimes it's right for them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it fits my lifestyle right now. It's perfect for where I'm at. Yeah, maybe it's undercutting the entire industry. I can't help that. There's a
Right.
difference between intentionally undercutting
Right.
and this is what fits.
Absolutely.
You know, and again, you have people who need to be a little bit higher because they're only serving a certain amount of clients.
Right.
So you have to do higher premium for that to offset. But,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you worked for a well-known establishment before you
did.
started. Did you have any kind of like fear of leaving that safety net of that security and going out on your own? I mean, how did you deal with that? What was going through your mind, and what helped you go, it's time to jump off the cliff? You know?
Yeah. So I loved the job I was in, and I probably would have stayed there for a really long time. At the time, I was kind of teetering with working on the weekend, and I decided the clinic I was in, we were really busy. We had a very long waiting list, and at first I tried a couple avenues to approach management and admin, like, can we hire another provider? And that wasn't really in the vision of the business. And then, you know, can we work an extra day and maybe adjust some of the provider salaries if we're interested? And that wasn't really in the interest of the business. So then I approached my collaborating physician and kind of had a talk with him. He has a master's in business administration. I always learned so much from him. He's one of the best doctors I ever met. And I talked with him about it, and he kind of said, you know, what you do in your off time is your business. So I saw a couple clients on the weekend here and there. He felt that way, but overall, I think the company didn't feel that way. So after a couple talks back and forth, and I was going to try to go part-time, and they were like, no, you can stay full-time or resign. I had such an attachment to my patients that I was seeing there. I didn't want to leave. Those clients were using their insurance. I wasn't sure they really wanted to come and see me cash, but these other people didn't have access to a provider who specialized in obesity medicine. So kind of word of mouth. I didn't want to leave the clients I already had, but I didn't want to leave the clients that I had just gotten either. So I decided to stay full-time there and just see clients on the weekend. And I think after they saw I was a little bit stubborn, a few weeks later, they just decided that it was not in the best interest of the company to keep me. So I was terminated 2 weeks before Christmas.
Oh.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
But
Merry Christmas.
honestly, right. Honestly, I think if that had not happened to me, the growth of my business would have been so slow. All of the things that have happened since then would maybe never have happened.
Sure.
I probably would have just worked 2 jobs for a long time. And I think God wanted me to do it. I think he knew what I needed. He needed to just push me off the ledge and show me that big lake is just a puddle. And I'm going to walk through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. Everything worked out so perfectly. And I took care of my clients like they were my family. I really think old school medicine needs to come back.
Yeah.
I like to know my patients. I like to know their families. I like to know about their kids. Even though I treat weight, I always tell people weight is never just limited to the pounds on the scale.
Sure.
It's not. And I want to know you, and I want to know what makes you tick, and I want to take care of you like I want someone to take care of me. So whenever I was let go, man, they found me. I went from 30 clients and when I first got fired to 300 in the first month. That I didn't have any support staff. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have a plan, but we figured it out.
You got prepared real
We figured
quick.
it out.
So I said, sometimes we talk about God opens a door or a window. Sometimes he opens a trap door.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The floor comes out and okay, you're ready
That was
to go.
it.
There
Yeah,
you go.
you were ready.
Yeah. And I remember when you left, you were in that spooky one room
I was.
basement level old hospital of Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember sitting in the hallway waiting for the other patient to come out, and I could have swore I saw a nurse from like 1930
Maybe.
walk
Do
down
you
the
believe
hallway.
in ghosts? Is my question.
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I didn't meet any while I was there.
Are you sure?
Well,
I did.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
I don't know. Somebody's playing tricks on me, but there was
Hey.
definitely a nurse I saw in the hallway that didn't fit
Yeah.
this
Maybe.
era. But anyway,
So funny story about that building. So I really didn't have a plan. You know, it was
Yeah.
just locker room talk amongst my colleagues for a long time. Maybe one day we'll open a clinic. And then that happened, and I just went. But there was a friend of mine, LaToya Wallace. She owns Access to Care PA. It was the first direct primary care model in this city. We used to work together in the ER years ago, and she's not from this area. And she kept saying, why do people come to the ER for primary care? Like, these people don't have primary care. So I started talking to her a little bit about, sometimes people don't have insurance. They don't have access to a doctor. There are many reasons why people utilize the ER for primary care. And so she saw a need, and she opened a business. LaToya and I helped her a lot in the beginning by introducing her to other business owners and kind of teaching her a little bit about the city because she's a little shy and she's not from around here. And so when I talked to her about opening my own clinic, she sat me down and she insisted that that was her space. And I don't like for people to help me, and I've had to come a long way with that. But she said one thing that has stuck with me, and I try to say it over and over again to other business owners. We're put on this earth to help people.
Yeah.
And so if you want to allow people to help you, how do you expect people to allow you to help them? And so I had to swallow my pride a little bit and just start taking a whole lot of help because it made it a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
So that was her clinic. Thank you for letting me use your building, but I'm a little glad to get out of there with the ghosts.
That's a resounding story amongst all the interviews we've had. Is the help
Yeah.
we keep getting from other business owners.
Absolutely.
And it's essential.
Yeah.
We can't do it all on our own.
It's hard to ask for help
It is.
when you want to be self-sufficient, you want to be independent. And I'm in a entrepreneur program around here that the student group created over at the Student Community Institute. It's called Venture Mentor Services. Once a year, they take new applicants. Businesses can apply. They have to talk a little bit about what their vision, mission, values are, and then you have to get selected. And they pair you with C-suite executives and other business owners throughout the city to just help you for free. Everybody signs NDAs, and it is what you make it. And a mentee, another business who had been in it for years, I asked her for advice, and she said, I'm going to tell you one thing. Be transparent. Tell them all your problems and just come out the gate with them, because the more you try to put on like you have it together, nobody can help you. They don't know what you need help with.
Right.
Every entrepreneur is going to, how's your business going? It's
Great.
It's awesome. Or, hey, it's a little tough right now, but next week,
Yeah.
That's right.
we're going to get over that hump. I mean, I was in that point in my business before I closed down. If I just need one more week. Yeah. But everything's great. Everything's going to go fine,
Yeah.
God humbles us sometimes.
He
And
does.
we can't learn if we don't have
Right.
that humility to admit we don't know.
Yes.
And to look vulnerable. That's a tough thing to do.
It is. And there's probably a lot of people in the room who don't know either.
Yeah.
You just need to be the one to say it. Be the one to say it and let them hear it.
I can't tell you how many meetings I was in past careers where everybody in the room, and we all knew Nobody knew what they were going to do about this situation, but nobody would admit it.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in a room with everybody's faking it, and you're looking around, we're like, there's no hope. There's no, somebody has to break the seal and say, I have no idea. And then everybody will go, oh, good. I'm glad you said it because I have no idea either.
Well,
Before real change can happen.
Nobody knows how to help you if you're not letting somebody know that you need help.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't say, throw me the thing, what is that called? The
Lifesaver?
Yeah, there you go.
that what it
Those mints or something, but also the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I don't know if it's the mint or the actual thing it was called.
Either
but
way, I mean, that might save you too.
We get the
mint
Might.
for
Yeah,
a conversation. Either way, but nobody knows how to help you if you don't say, "Hey, I'm
Right.
drowning over here."
Yes.
And
Yes.
perhaps the person in the room is the right person for you. But
Yep.
you would never know. And you said that, several times, Dan.
Yeah, and if they're not, maybe they'll introduce you to somebody. I've met so many people through just being transparent and asking for help, and I would never be where I'm at now if it wasn't for all of the help that I've received. So I try to make sure that I take time to do things like this or talk to other people who are maybe on the fence about starting their own business, especially in healthcare. I found that a lot of people have started to coming to me and asking me questions, and I'm like, hey, I'm not a business coach. I don't know. I didn't even have a business plan when this thing started. But I'm happy to talk to you and share whatever I have learned because it might save you some expensive lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're a business owner out there and you haven't Googled business plan template, you're lying to yourself because everybody's done that.
ChatGPT.
What
it'll
is
help
that?
you.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But you said something. I mean, networking is so vital, and
It is.
I talked about. We did a little presentation at our entrepreneur club last night, and one thing I realized in business is my biggest fear, my biggest stop sign was. And it's my fear of being embarrassed, and that hindered me from networking the way I needed to. But I started to realize there's no ever a bad networking opportunity.
No.
Even if that person has no idea and they're not great for you, they could be a stepping stone to they may know somebody next to
Right.
them, or they're going to give you something. You go, well, that's not good. That
Right.
I'm going. I
There's
know
always
what
something
not
to
to
be
do.
learned. Right.
You're going to learn something from every single networking, and as you say, every networking opportunity you take advantage of opens up exponentially more every single
Absolutely.
time. So don't be afraid to be able to do that. So, I mean, I don't know if you naturally can walk in and just say hey to somebody or, go up to them. You seem like you're not scared
It's
of
gotten
too
better
much.
over time.
I had to
better over
really
time.
work on that, because I get awkward real quick and I feel like I have to fill that empty space. And then
Yeah.
people go, oh,
I think initially we all struggle with imposter syndrome. Sometimes I'll think really hard when people are like, what do you love about business? And you can name a lot. And then somebody says, what do you hate about business? And you want to say taxes, but then we all hate that. So you want to give a more meaningful answer. And I think that imposter syndrome that we all have, like, do I belong here? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Do I know what to say? We all struggle with that and we just don't talk about it. So being able to just swallow your pride and get over it,
Yeah.
it was how I could walk in this room and not look so fearful anymore.
Yeah.
But it didn't start out like that. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So you have lots of clients who would probably follow you no matter where you go.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. I know I followed you. My in-laws have used you and they followed you,
They follow me.
right? Whether it's you as a provider or whatever. How important is customer service for client retention for you?
One of the things that stands out to me about why I knew I had to start a business was I had a conversation with management at my previous employer, and it was some complaints about patients trying to reach me. And I'm like, I'm not getting these messages. I don't want them to think I'm ignoring them. Where's the disconnect? And she said, I think your expectations are here. And she put her hand up high, and they need to be here. And she put it down low. And I thought to myself, where am I? What's going on right now? Like, I was very seldom am I at a loss for words, but I knew then I had to take more control of how I treated my patients because I'll never be able to accept that. So I used to say a lot that patients are first in this business. And over the last year, I've tried to expand my knowledge as a leader.
Yeah.
Because being a business owner and being a leader is really different. I don't think I ever wanted to manage people, and that just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And so I think I've changed my stance on that. Customers are first, but I think employees are also first, because when you treat your employees well and you instill in them your vision, mission, and values, they take care of your clients the same way you do.
Sure.
And there's no question on the quality. So patients, it's hard to work in healthcare. I think it's even harder to be a patient. So I try to make sure that our customer service is A1 because that's what I want to receive when I go to a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Substandard is not an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can pour into your employees, which is really your partners,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Then they become like you.
Yeah.
If they feel that you're behind them 100%, then they're like you. And then now you've subdivided yourself.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to answer all the emails, all the phone calls.
Because you can't do all the things.
Yeah, you can't do it.
No way.
They're willing to stay up late at night and answer some of those perhaps when you
Right.
had to do it all the time.
Right. When you have
Because
the right people on the
When
team.
you had the right people on the team.
That's hard.
Yeah.
But
it is.
It is necessary.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you reach those new clients? I mean, we ask this of everybody that comes in because everybody can come up with a business idea.
Yeah.
It's bringing it to fruition. How do I get people through that door? What have you done that you found has worked for you and is the most effective for you, especially in your industry? Because it's probably a little different.
It is a little different.
Than everybody.
And so we were so blessed initially to have our clients follow us, kind of like Derek said. When you treat people right, they will follow you.
Sure.
So I was really, really blessed in that regard. But since then, we've hired a provider who didn't have their own panel. She only works part-time. So that's been an experiment that didn't give a whole lot of feedback. She works 2 other jobs because she's a little bit afraid of jumping and working for a small business. I get it. But this upcoming Monday, we are going to hire our first salary provider. So I decided that I didn't want to. A lot of healthcare clinics will hire a practitioner. Small healthcare clinics will hire a nurse practitioner at a percentage base. And they say, kind of eat what you kill.
Sure.
And I'm going to pay you a percentage of everything you make. It's very low risk for us who own clinics, but I thought about that long and hard, and I didn't want to limit who I hired. I didn't want to limit that candidate pool to people who didn't really have to work, because I think about myself as a single mom now, and I'm responsible for paying these bills. I wouldn't take a job like that. So I didn't want to limit my candidate pool because I wanted the right fit for my clinic. So I took a leap of faith, hired somebody in at salary. I think we got a great candidate, and Monday will be her first day. And so thus far, word of mouth has carried us really, really far in this city. I had to say maybe 95% of our clients have all been word of mouth just from us taking great care of our customers, and they tell somebody. So amazing to see your customers just tell people, and they tell people, and they tell people. They also turn into walking billboards, so I'll be honest, that helps.
Yeah,
Sure.
You notice when Jane lost 80 pounds across the room, and you're going to ask. Hopefully Jane shares, but I get why some of my clients don't feel comfortable sharing because everybody's got an opinion right now. So we're tapping a little bit more into that realm where we're trying to figure out how do we get to people who haven't heard about us? How do we spend money on Google ads? And I was just talking to Derek while we were off air about did the radio work for you, or did TV work for you? What worked for you? And I think there's going to be something different for every business, but you got to give it enough time to see if it worked.
Sure.
And you got to not be afraid to scrap it if it's not working.
Yep.
Set yourself a budget and pivot if it's not working. Tell everybody about your business. I think when you love it so much, that doesn't even require thought. I can't even help but insert my business into conversations. And it's not just to get your business. It's just because I love what I do. So that goes a long way. But trying to branch out into different states and different cities right now, and just trying to see what things work as far as advertising goes for that, because there are a ton of weight loss clinics. I mean, we see it everywhere right now. You can't scroll Facebook or turn on the radio or anything without seeing a weight loss ad right now, but we're trying to figure out how to really make sure that we set ourselves apart by letting clients know we're not just selling medications. We're not here to take your money. We don't want to be that gimmicky clinic that's one size fits all and you pay for a prescription. We're going to offer more than that, and we want you to know it. So trying to make sure that we convey that message to anybody who can hear it who hasn't heard of us already.
Sure.
It'll be a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So your industry is always evolving.
Yes.
Right. And you just said it. There seems to be new weight loss drugs
All the time.
like
Lots of
almost
things
literally
coming down the
every day,
pipeline.
right?
Yeah.
And I love how your name incorporates that evolving. So, what does evolve and evolve medical mean for you?
No, we sat around, me and a couple coworkers, that locker room talk I talked about, just throwing out different words that meant things like change and transform and evolve. And for whatever reason, evolve just stuck. I think I liked the letter E. I don't know. It just stuck. We're here to not only help you lose the weight, but I really want to help people evolve the way that they take care of themselves, their health and wellness, how they feel about themselves, how they take care of themselves, how they take an active role in managing their health. For so long, I think that we've talked at patients and not to them, not with them. And honestly, being a nurse for a really long time, I can't tell you how many patients I saw nodding their head as someone talked at them about what they're going to do. And I'm looking at their face like they're not going to do any of that.
Yeah.
They don't agree with any of that. So really requiring patients to take an active role in the plan that we design was important for me. And I think that's where the name Evolve came from. We want to help you evolve you in all aspects. You take care of the whole patient.
Yeah. I mean, I know every time I sat down with you, you laid out all kinds of plans, not just medication wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, here's all the other resources that you could do.
Yeah.
You know, and beyond the medication, beyond the weight loss, here's how to continue evolving to make sure you stay on track and to make sure that the weight goes away and
small changes
or stays away.
Right.
Yeah.
Small changes that you can adopt long term. You know, anybody can follow these fad diets, 500 calories, intermittent fasting, things like that. But honestly, you got to find the best diet for you. And the best diet is the one that you can stick to, that's going to be incorporated with your lifestyle and your wife and your family and your schedule and your budget. And that is challenging, but it's what's required for long-term patient satisfaction and success.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, now this is a little bit off topic as far as entrepreneurship, but rarely do we have an expert in this kind of field.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about, I mean, there is an epidemic almost of obesity.
Yeah, that's an appropriate word.
Yeah,
it is.
I was trying to find the right word here.
No, it is.
Of obesity. Where do you start? Where do you see? You know, of course, it's a different world than it was 30 years ago, even, or 20 years ago.
Yes.
As far as it comes to obesity, where do you see that kind of change as far as lifestyle or cultural changes or food changes, or what is it? What do you think? Is it lifestyle choices? Is it the food we eat? Is it additives, or is it a combination of all of those kind of things? I mean, how for anybody, everybody at some point struggles with weight one way or the other.
The majority of us.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, when I hit 29, you know, I went from a see-through skeleton to I didn't know they made belts that went like that, you know, all overnight, you know. So, I mean, what do we need to be aware of? What are we looking at here?
So when you look at the history of obesity, you see it correlate with the rise of industrialism. We don't have as much activity in our everyday life as we used to, and that's as a result of technology and other things. We don't have to travel as far. Technology has made a lot of things so easy, and we can spend our time elsewhere, but our activity level has greatly dropped. In addition to that, there's not just one person working in most households anymore. Mm-hmm. So as a result, we've gone toward convenience foods. Our kids are in sports. I think these kids are like full-time jobs with the number of sports that they're in and activities. I'm like, cheer parents and baseball parents are like 20 hours a week out there. Yeah. And so that has caused a rise for convenient foods. We got to feed our kids, but we're limited on time. Budget, you know, unhealthy food's pretty cheap. We got dollar menu and other things like that. So there's been a number of things. Also, we've seen a rise in the number of genes that have changed throughout the years. Obesity definitely has a genetic component. So you have even little things like the adenovirus, which causes the common cold, sometimes can flip a gene when someone is exposed to it and cause you to be more likely to have obesity. Different medications that have been developed throughout the years, antipsychotics, antidepressants, steroids used for a multitude of things can cause weight gain. And so I always really like to educate my patients so they know it's not one thing, and it's usually not willpower. It's much more complex than that, and my goal is to help a patient understand their disease and manage their disease and hopefully learn to advocate for the disease for other people so somebody doesn't feel like it's a moral failure because they're struggling with weight. 2 out of 3 people in America struggle with weight. That is a 2015 statistic.
Wow.
It's probably even higher now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I have to ask you, because you were talking about you can't scroll through social media without saying weight management. Maybe it's because I'm a 41-year-old man, but I see these all the time about cortisol belly, and I don't know what that is. But is that a real thing? I mean, because they're pushing that. I mean, there's more supplements and everything for, you know, guys like me where I carry most everything between the belt buckle and the Solaflex. You know,
Right.
Plex, complex.
So
I think that's what.
and you're starting to see a rise in the number of people with that visceral fat, that central fat distribution, and that's actually the kind of fat that we want to get rid of, because that's what accumulates around our organs and really leads to other diseases from organ enlargement. So I think a lot of that has to do with food and the types of foods that we're eating now, and that's a long discussion. But hypercortisolism is real, high cortisol levels. But I do think that there is a certain level of manipulation that goes on in the wellness industry.
Sure.
There just is. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because everybody wants to feel better, right? So if you tell me this is going to work, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
I just want to feel better. That can be a reason for somebody to struggle with weight, but I will tell you it's not one of the most common, and it's unlikely that a supplement's going to work. So make sure that you find a healthcare provider that is credentialed, that understands the complexities of excess weight, and that's not just going to tell you that that is the solution and throw a pill at you.
Yeah.
We need to do a little bit of investigating before we assume it's that.
Sure.
It's rare, but it's possible.
I mean, the level they're advertising, it's like everybody
Oh, yeah.
has been struck with a cortisol disease.
Yeah.
That I was terrified of
And this is
for
the
a little
answer.
bit. I was like, wait a minute, I've got that. That picture is me. You know?
And I think all of us want an answer, right?
yeah.
We want to know that is the reason why I'm struggling. But
No, a lot of us want an easy answer. That, hey, give me that pill. I'll take that, and I'm good. I don't have to change anything.
Rarely is it just one answer, though. Rarely,
Right.
yeah.
Right. It can't be what I'm choosing to eat.
No, it started in the lab in Wuhan.
It could be that in addition to a slew of things, and we'll figure it all out.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So how do you mitigate the challenges of all the changes, right? So you, as Dan just talked about, we have all these changes of constantly. Well, you wake up today and there's a new cortisol or this, and then you got on top of that the FDA changes.
Yeah.
You know what you can give your patient, or you know
What you
how
can
much you can give to them,
Right.
or all that stuff. What do you do to kind of mitigate all that?
So I think it's really important, especially in healthcare, to limit yourself on the number of things that you do. So often I see clinics popping up, and we want to stay open. We don't want our business to fail. So
Sure.
we'll offer a variety of services, so that way we can meet everybody's needs. But I think it's really, really important to identify what you do well and do that thing. Maybe you can offer a few other services, but do what you do really well and be an expert at it. I never want to be a jack of all trades. I worked ER for a little bit, and it was fun. But not forever. I like my one thing. And so I think people need to remember that you never stop learning. You need to stay engaged with the industry that you're in. You need to stay on top of new research, on top of new guidelines, and then you need to become an expert so you can weed through those guidelines. And remember, patients don't always fit in algorithms. Sometimes you practice some off-label medicine. Now, don't do it if you don't know what you're doing. But when you know enough, you know that people just don't fit in yes, no boxes and follow an algorithm. That would be too easy. Right?
Yeah.
I think I'd get bored. But staying up to date with the laws is super important. None of us can practice without practicing by the law. Well, please set a good example. The nice thing about not taking insurance is I don't always have to follow the standards that insurance has set, that Medicare has set.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Recently, they've been making some changes to limit telehealth. They want to cancel telehealth reimbursement for telehealth, and somebody reached out to me and they said, is this going to change our ability to do telehealth? Because I have patients all over the state of Florida. I said, nope, I don't take insurance. It doesn't affect me. I can see you wherever you are. So that part's nice. And while initially I think I told patients, maybe one day I'll take insurance, I don't know that I will. Not with these number of restrictions that are going to limit me on how I can provide care. But you do still need to be aware of these things, so that way you can educate patients on your industry.
Sure.
Yeah, you need to be in touch and up to date. That way you also don't get talked into buying different things from different vendors, because everybody's here to sell you something when you own a business. You need this, you need this. So weed through that, be an expert in your industry, and know what questions to ask.
Yeah, I think people, Americans in general, have become, especially over the last few years through the pandemic, have realized how disillusioned they've become with the healthcare industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And so they've had a healthy skepticism about what they've assumed was true or what was told to them. I think it's sometimes can swing to the exact opposite, where they just don't believe anything about it.
Absolutely.
And I think we're coming to a point when there's an important conversation in our country that people are going, well, not necessarily I have to do my own research, because what do I know? Throw a medical journal at me. I don't even know what I'm reading. half the time to understand. But we're coming and we're approaching healthcare a lot differently and
We
with
are.
different eyes, I think, too.
And you're your biggest advocate. I tell patients all the time, write down some questions before you get in there, because the provider's going to come in and they're going to talk really fast and they're going to go over some things and you're going to forget the questions that you've been wondering about. Write them down and make sure that you take time to get them answered. If you feel like you're seeing a provider who's not listening to you, change.
Yeah.
You have options in healthcare. Don't support a business that does not take care of you. Stop spending your money there, even though you only pay $20 or maybe you even have a $0 copay. You don't have to go there. It is not a requirement for you to stay with the same doctor because you've seen him since you were 19.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement. People are scared of change, but when you know better, you do better. So when you start educating your patients on what quality care looks like, they start expecting that in other realms, which is nice. And you want to make sure that you're also answering the questions, because I do consider myself an expert in obesity, and patients hear all kind of things, and they're concerned, and their loved ones are concerned about what they're on, and they're hearing bad things about some of these meds, and there's a lot of naysay. Everybody's got an opinion. So I always tell patients, I really welcome questions, and I want you to know that I am your resource. There are no stupid questions. Ask me. And if you don't trust what I'm saying, ask me about that too, because if I can't explain to you why I want you to take it, don't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask all the questions, because we make mistakes too. Healthcare providers make mistakes. Healthcare systems make mistakes. So if you're not involved in your care and you don't know why you're taking what you're taking or why you're doing what you're doing, stop and ask.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that really leads to a lot of compliance with patients too. They understand why you want them to do it, and now they know why they should.
Yeah. I think that asking questions probably helps you understand if you're with the right provider too.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a situation where I've asked a question and they go, well, I don't know. It could depend. Maybe Well, I
Depend
feel
on
more
what?
confused now than I did before.
Yeah.
My last doctor, I don't think he's ever looked at me.
Yeah.
He comes in with a laptop, asks a few questions, and leaves. And well, that was worth the hour and a half wait. You know?
Yeah, the hour and a half wait. Yep.
That was. I think a lot of people have lost. I think it's that insurance machine.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to churn them out, double and triple book, which,
Right.
like you said, not always their fault.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to a time where businesses like yours become much more prevalent, where they have to earn the customer,
Right.
know, the patient. I think a lot of times medical providers say, "Well, where else are you going to go? You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got you now." So it's I mean, even they say, "Hey, you say there's no such thing as a $0 copay." I mean, I'm paying $800 a month. Don't have a
That's so
$0
true.
copay.
Even when it's getting taken out of your check, I was just talking to Derek about that. I have people that I want to hire, and sometimes they're scared to leave their other jobs because they provide benefits.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're taking $400, $500, $600 out every 2 weeks. For you to go get a plan from a private insurance company, you might spend the same amount and make way more money working for me and be happier.
Yeah.
But we're just scared because somebody else is not providing it for us and
Yep.
taking it out of our check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't let that be a limitation on why you jump to a small business.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
100%.
we talked about that on our last podcast about the safety net sometimes keeps
Yeah.
you too safe.
Yeah.
It holds you back a little bit too much.
Absolutely.
That's terrifying. I don't think most people know where to get insurance if it's not through their employer. You know?
Yeah.
They're like,
There-
well, I'm done. So
Yeah.
Right,
just don't
right.
get sick
I
ever.
just don't get to have anything. No,
Right.
no. There's lots of options.
Yeah, I mean, we've been to a point in our family, where our only doctor visit was to urgent care because that's the only place we knew to go.
Right.
We didn't have anywhere else to. We knew they were going to charge us, but hey, we got a payment plan, so it's the same as a medical,
Sometimes.
as health insurance. Sometimes to get that payment, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping you can point to maybe because Derek touched on it just a little bit, but that spark, that one conversation. I know you've talked about several different points, and you can elaborate on whatever you wish. But what would you say was probably the most critical spark moment that you had, whether it was a conversation, a realization, or something that happened that you said, not only should I do this, I can do it, and we're going to take the leap. I know you said you found yourself without a job, but that doesn't always mean, oh, well, I'm just going to start a business now.
Right. Right.
It could,
'Cause
I just go get hired somewhere else.
a lot of people are
that
gonna
was a
look for another
decision
job.
too, right? What made you go, it's time?
I was listening to a TED Talk on the way over here, actually, that my leadership coach sent me, and they were just getting into this conversation about what changed for entrepreneurs that made them different from those non-entrepreneurs, the people who started a business and didn't succeed. And I didn't get far into the talk. I'd have a better answer
Do you
if I
want to
did.
take a break and we'll go?
No, absolutely
to it,
not.
come back.
I'm going to take
Shoot
this from
from
the
the
cup. So, shoot from the hip. So I think about those few clients that I had already taken on. And I could have shut it down and shifted them off to somebody else, but I felt a great sense of responsibility to continue taking care of them. I was committed to it. I also was previously married to a business owner, and we split, but we were very good friends now. But we started in a place where he was a one-man show, and we grew that over a decade, and it was really amazing to see how we could hire other employees, and now we are responsible for their livelihood and how they take care of their family. And we take really great care of our customers, and it's just really rewarding. I had a conversation with my manager who I liked her, and we always were joking in jest. We both had a fondness for sarcasm, but as I started to realize that quality was really important to me and the company that I was working for was getting bigger and bigger and my voice was getting smaller and smaller, she said to me that if I didn't have anything helpful, maybe don't say anything at all. And I was speechless again. She was good. There was a few times I was speechless there. And I decided that I was no longer going to come to employee meetings because I don't want to be the one in the room that's just nodding my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the one that we've all talked about this. We're all upset about this, and I'm okay with my coworkers not being willing to speak, but I can't shut up about something I care about. I can't shut up.
Yeah.
So I knew then that I had to do it. At that point, I told my other two coworkers who were still at my previous place of employment, I was like, this is going to work, and I'd sell my house to make it work. I'd sell this house that is almost paid off to make it work because I will bet every last dollar on myself. And so if you don't believe in the cause that you are fighting for that much, don't do it, because people are going to see right through whatever story you're trying to sell, whatever sales pitch you are trying to make. They're going to see right through it. They're going to see that you don't love it. I love this, and I absolutely know this will not fail because I won't let it.
Yeah.
And people know it when they talk to you. They know that you love what you do. And same thing for employees. You know when you got an employee that just doesn't love being there, and maybe they show up and you can't quite figure out a reason to let them go, but they don't love it. And my first year of business, I probably held on to a couple support staff that were like that. And then I realized I'm hurting myself more than anybody because they're the face of my business and they're part of my business. And everybody here needs to love what we're doing and know why we're doing it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, being told to not say anything at all was the last straw.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
So you've come a long way in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
What's the next 3 to 5 years look like?
Man, y'all are asking me questions that people are making me write down right now. I've been asked that a couple of times by different mentors over the last 2-3 years that this business has been growing, and I always hesitate to write that down because I'm like, I don't know, everything's changing so much. And those first 3 months that I started my business, I lost my job. I decided to end my marriage. Not for any particular reason other than I just felt like we were roommates. He loved his business and we just really grown apart. And I was like, I don't think either of us are happy, and I want you to be happy and I want me to be happy. And I moved out of my house and I was like, maybe I'm having a midlife crisis a little early. During that time, I think I lost fear.
Yeah.
When you thought that was a lake and you were going to drown and you figured out it was a puddle, and then you're like, I can just do anything. One day that's going to bite me. I'm going to be lighting candles and something's going to be a firecracker. And I have come to terms with that. But I think it took a lot of fear out of me. I was able to witness firsthand how much a dream can grow. So I'm going to go ahead and say some things. I started out saying things in the room, and my two other nurse practitioners who jumped ship with me, I would say things and they'd be like, why did you say that? Are we going to do that? And I think I like to put myself on the spot because when I say it, I have to do it. I'm now obligated to do it. I don't know why I like to do that to myself, but I do it a lot, and I think it holds me accountable. So what Evolve's going to do next, I'm going to go full telemedicine. You didn't know that, did you, Derek? Starting June 1st. Starting June 1st. Write that down.
What does that mean, full telemedicine?
So right now we have a clinic here in downtown Pensacola. I love this city, but I have met someone in my life that I absolutely adore, and he is active duty military. And so I didn't know where it was going to go. We've dated the last couple of years, and this will be his last year here in Pensacola, and then he's got to move on. And I decided that as much as I love my business, I always want to make sure that I have an identity outside of that.
Sure.
That's hard. That's hard to maintain. But you are not your business. You are still an individual, and happiness is important. So people are like, you're crazy. You're going to give up your business? Absolutely not. The mission that we have is rooted here in Pensacola, and we're going to be strong, and we're going to maintain our presence in this community. But I'm going to go full telemedicine. I'm not going to leave until the end of the year. So if my patients still strong arm me into being in office, I'll let them come in office, but I want to get them used to telemedicine because some people really just want to come in person. And I love seeing people in person, but I also want to give them the option to either continue with me telemedicine as I move to a different city, or shift off to one of our other great providers in the clinic who practice just like I do, because we all believe in this mission the same. So the clinic will stay rooted here in Pensacola. We have a great manager. We have some great providers. This will always be home base. I will move to our next duty station, which we should find out about in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're thinking Jacksonville or Virginia Beach because he's active duty Navy, and his time with the Blue Angels is coming to an end. It's been amazing, but he goes back out to the fleet. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move, and that's scary because I've never lived outside the city. I thought that maybe I just work from home and do telemedicine, but honestly, I love people. And I think I will always love people. Yeah. So I probably will start out doing just telemed, and then I'll open a clinic in a new city.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and maybe I'll travel back and forth, and I've decided I'm going to continue doing whatever makes me happy. So if that doesn't serve me, I'll do something else.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. We've enjoyed every single minute of this, and we're going to actually, if you're listening, we're going to continue on. We'll have this next part of the conversation on our website. We'll continue talking to our guest, but we want to thank everybody for listening and joining in on this. We haven't had anybody from the medical community, and so it's exciting to see how entrepreneurship and the medical community and serving people in a way that takes their needs above what we normally think of in the health community as an insurance-driven industry. So we're so glad that we got you here with us today. We want you to be able to listen to the next part of our conversation as well. You can check that out on our Spotify page, our YouTube. You want to hear you can hear us right here on WPNN Radio 103.7 every Sunday at 10 a.m. You can hear the first part of our conversation with our guests, and we'd love to have you every time we're on the air.
Yeah, and stay up to date with new episodes and following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We try to stay up and trendy with Dr. Graye.
We're so trendy.
She's much better.
I'm trying to keep up with you guys.
and interact with us. Send us a message out on Facebook, Instagram, any way that you can contact us on our social media. We want to hear from you. You can even send us an email if you're, I can't believe I'm saying this, old school way of sending an email at the arcentrepreneur@gmail.com. And share this episode. Share it on your social media. We'll have it on all our social medias. Share it with somebody that is going to be impacted by this and that can bring something out of this for you. Check out our website at thearcpodcast.com. We have a lot of articles on there that are specifically driven towards our entrepreneurs, our one-day entrepreneurs, our current entrepreneurs. And we have some devotional materials on there that help guide you spiritually, help you. We understand the struggles that you go through. And God has given us a lot of things to help us through that, including himself. And he speaks to us in his word. And Derek has done a great series out of the Bible of driven for entrepreneurs. And I encourage you to go check that out. We've got ways for you to subscribe, our newsletter, and a lot of ways to connect. And we want more interconnectivity with our entrepreneurs in our area here and around the world, wherever we can go.
Yeah, and drop us a comment. If you hear us on Spotify, leave us a comment, good or bad. If you have a tweak we need to do, or if you have something that you love about the show, leave us a comment.
I don't think the internet has any trouble finding something we've done wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
But we'll find it. But
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the ARC Entrepreneur Podcast. We'll see you next week. All right. Well, welcome back to the ARC Entrepreneur Podcast, and this is strictly for our podcast listeners. We're continuing with our guest. I can't say, you told me not to say doctor, but you do have a PhD. So I'm going to say PhD graduate, Kaitlyn Graye of Evolve Medical. I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper. You're part of a mentorship program.
Yes.
With our local, what's it called? The Studer?
Student group started the Venture Mentor Services. It's a program based out at MIT, and they brought it here to Pensacola to try to support entrepreneurship. So that's awesome.
So yeah. I want to talk to you. How does that program kind of work? Because not everybody is going to be involved in one of those kind of programs,
right.
But we can apply those same kind of principles, especially business owners coming alongside the new ones coming along. Or having someone going into business, what do they need to look for? What does mentorship look like? What has it done for you? What are some things that people can kind of take away from that and provide for just their colleagues or their friends that are getting into business as well?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to know somebody who was in this program and decide to shoot my shot. You miss every shot you don't take, right? So they had never picked a healthcare organization to belong to this program, so that's been a journey. I'm glad I've been able to give a lot of feedback to them, and I think that program will continue to grow. Also, they put on EntreCon every year, which is an entrepreneur conference where they bring in a lot of speakers and talk about different business topics. So make sure to check them out at Student Community Institute. Some of the things that we've learned along the way is to, we talked about earlier, make sure that you're transparent with your mentors. They don't know what you need. They're not mind readers. They might not even really understand your business, but somebody who knows nothing about your business but knows how to run a business can come in and run it.
Sure.
Just because you're good at what you do doesn't mean you can necessarily run a business. So I think there's a lot to be learned from anybody, even in people not in your industry. So don't hesitate to sit down with other business owners in your local community and ask them what worked for them and what didn't, even if they own a gutter business and you own a healthcare organization. Business principles are very similar. Also, SBDC. Are you guys familiar with that? Small Business Development Committee? Yeah. I'll tell you, that is a free resource that I am so glad somebody introduced me to, because our mentor over there has been invaluable. And I go in oftentimes and I feel like I'm just a hot mess with some of my mentors, but you know what? I have learned to be really transparent. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And everybody's so gracious in the amount of help that they give you. So one of our mentors out there, it's based out of UWF here in Pensacola. Yep. We saw him every 6 weeks, and sometimes he wasn't even quite sure how to help us. But we'd meet, we'd talk things out. He guides us in the right direction, and he liked to refer to their program as the research arm of your business. So he was like, I can help you figure things out. I can research it, and I can put you in touch with people. So utilize those free resources and go to networking events. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but I've met so many people who I'd never meet if I just went home at the end of the day.
Sure.
You know, we all want to go home at the end of the day. Hopefully most of us like our families. I like going home. I like the people I live with, and I want to be there. But it's also really, really important to spend time working when you're not directly making revenue, making those connections, making genuine connections, having genuine conversations. People are going to see through it when you're just there for personal gain. But making those genuine connections that are going to be long lasting and are going to support you in ways that you don't directly see. Yeah.
I think there's two things that you said that I want to put on T-shirts and sell. One is, just because you're good at what you do doesn't mean you can run a business.
Absolutely not.
How true.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to realize that. I think people need to realize that, but don't allow that to stop you from running a business. Right. What it should do is spur you to ask the question. Be vulnerable, like you said, because you can get, if you're really good at what you do, it's very easy for you to apply that to every aspect of life. I can do anything.
Right.
I'm the golden boy. I'm the golden girl. I can do this, and I'm not going to ask for help.
Good luck.
I'm not going to, I got it.
Yeah.
And I think all of us have probably been there at some point, and we learned the hard way. I know I've been there.
Yeah.
I know I've been there. It doesn't success in one area does not translate in success in every.
It doesn't.
Every area at all.
No. And we talk about that a lot. We talk about how we know of businesses that have been around for even 30 years, and they're still putting tape everywhere to hold it together because they haven't really learned how to run the business.
Right.
They're phenomenal at doing gutter or building houses or
and
whatever.
You can be self-employed, but being self-employed and owning a business is different.
Yeah.
It is.
100%.
Yeah.
And the other thing you said was investing in non-revenue making activity.
Absolutely.
Because I read this, and I'm not going to mention the name of the book until they sponsor us. It's a pretty popular book. But he said entrepreneurs need to invest in time in things that are going to make them uncomfortable because it's not making them money.
Right.
Whether it's stopping and reading,
Yep.
or researching, or networking, or having that coffee with that mentor, or meeting somebody that's going to help you get through that next part of your business, or just stopping and resting.
Right.
Those kind of things are
Yes.
so important to being a successful entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, I want to have my checklist for the day.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bam, 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 and I want to be wealthier by the end of the day.
Right.
Right.
You know, directly as a result of what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those things that have long-term returns, you know, that I don't see that return right now.
Right.
But sitting down and learning how to manage my business,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to navigate through metrics and understanding what's working and what's not,
Right.
sharpening my skills on not just the purpose of my business, which is, you know, medical in your case, but sharpening my skills on how to manage my business, how to manage people, how to lead people,
How to lead people.
how to communicate. You know, managing people and leading people are two different things, and
Yeah.
they're skills.
They are. They're
absolute
hard skills.
Very hard. And, you know, we learn a lot of those lessons the hard way, but we don't have to.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, I say a smart person learns from their own mistakes, but a wise person learns from the mistakes of other people.
Man.
So take that opportunity of learning from somebody else and being able to do that. I think that's hard for us to sit down and rest, and because in our minds it's doing nothing. If I
Yeah.
sit and read a book
Yeah.
or research or do something, well, I haven't done anything. I don't
Right.
make $1 today. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Especially if you rely on sales. You know?
Especially if you rely on sales.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. I loved every part of that. But and how is metrics? I mean, I don't know if I've never been through nurse practitioner school, or even if they call it that. I know they probably don't do a whole lot of training on, hey, here's the financial understanding of how to run your own business. Here's what metrics to look for that make you successful. Not, I don't know if they do or not. How did you grapple that as coming straight out of working in an office for someone else? And now you're not just dealing with weight loss
Yeah.
and medical issues. Now you're dealing with financials and metrics and tracking your success and tracking your failures and identifying those. How did you grapple with that, especially in that first year, I'd say?
So some of it I credit to my high school marketing teacher who knew that I was going to come back to business. She knew it. I actually didn't even want to be in that marketing program. My friend wanted to go on a trip and she needed to sell some cookies. And she asked me to help her, and I sold more cookies than anybody in the program. So this teacher came and found me. She's like, you need to be in my program. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to. And I did, and it was great. And I circled back around later to revamp my passion for business and mix it with healthcare. But I think that over time, realizing that business is healthcare is a business. When I was working in the ER, I became really frustrated with some colleagues who were a little bit burnt out. Healthcare will do that to you. And when it does that to you, find a new area in healthcare. You don't have to be in that area, but especially in a high stress environment like ER where everybody is having their worst day. They
Yeah.
don't want to be here. They don't want to be here. They have to be here, and they are miserable. And it is not a you thing; it's a them thing, and that's fine. Your job is to take care of them. It's not about you. And sometimes you even get hit, cussed at, and spit on. It's just the nature of the beast. So you better love what you do or find something else to do. So,
And
but
that's just at home. So I get.
so there, I would see people sometimes just give such low customer service because you're having a really stressful day, and nobody deserves that, even when they're here because they don't want to be. Nobody deserves that, and it was frustrating to me. And that's a hard thing to fix in that particular department.
Sure.
Big healthcare organizations often bring in companies to try to improve their patient satisfaction scores in the ER, and that's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. But in healthcare and outpatient, I think it's really, really important for us to remember that people have choices, and they're starting to get more choices. So paying attention to those key performance indicators and knowing what those are is important. Who's not coming back? Who only came one time? Why? Was it a cost thing? Was it a you thing? Was it a them thing? Reach out. Occasionally, I'll go back through some of my clients that maybe didn't come back, and I'll reach out and just say, hey, I was just thinking about you. How are things going? Is there anything I can do to get you back on track? And they'll say, oh, man, I can't believe you thought about me. But I do think about my clients. Sometimes when I haven't seen somebody for 6 months, I'll look up their name and just shoot a message, and they'll say, my best friend died. I can't believe you were thinking about me. That meant a lot right now. I did that today. One of my patients reached back to me, and her At our last visit, she got a phone call that her friend was re-diagnosed with cancer, and I haven't seen her since, and it just pops into your mind. So check on people, treat your clients like family, care about them genuinely. If you don't, they know. People know. None of us are stupid. Sure. So realizing who didn't come back, tracking that, making sure you're constantly improving. How long has it taken us to answer a phone call? Are we calling all these clients back? What kind of reviews are we getting? Ask for reviews. Man, people don't want to ask for reviews, but those matter. You guys know those matter. And people will leave you a review. They just don't think about it. Stop and ask them, because even sending that follow-up text, which I know we're busy and we all like automation, but you're less likely to get it with that automated text than you are just say, hey, if you have a few minutes, can you leave me a review right now? Scan this. Just ask them. Yeah. They'll do it. People are more than happy to support you, especially when you provide good care. So being able to constantly reevaluate and improve processes is something I love, because I like to see the wheels turn, and then I like to see it turn better. Mm-hmm. That's exciting for both the patient and the provider. Sometimes I'll ask my patients, what do you think? Because sometimes things are rocky. I mean, know, we talked about how you came to visit me in a not so modern place, which at the end of the day, people come to see you. Yeah. So all the bells and whistles are nice, but not mandatory. I wanted to provide a different atmosphere, so I'm thankful that I was able to get there. But asking clients, how was your feedback? How was the front desk? What do you think? I've had a few clients give me some good, honest feedback, because I've developed some rapport with them. You emailed me? Did somebody email you back? Is that medicine working? Or just really letting them know that you can reach out to me if you have an issue, and I mean that, and I will get back to you. But please, if you say that, mean it.
Yeah, actually do it.
Yeah, actually do it. And I'll get back to my clients. Sometimes other providers say, you give out your phone number, you have a patient line, doesn't that drive you crazy? No. People actually really don't abuse that. Yeah. They have an issue, they want an answer, you help them, and they move on, and they're happy. So,
and I have to say, I think a haunted medical clinic is a niche that nobody's really hitting on. I think you could have.
They have space available in that place.
I'm sure.
I thought it was kind of cool. It was spooky, but it was cool.
Yeah, lots of stories in that place.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and we can kind of close up with this. Sure. But I know there's a lot of medical professionals out there like you that have the heart you have, the drive you have, and want something greater out of where they are now. And they see themselves in this big system and a small voice.
Yeah.
And they know they have a voice, and they know they can make an impact. They know they can change not just their lives, but lives of patients in a different way, and can engage in them in a powerful way, and give opportunity and options for patients in their community. What do you say to them? The ones who are sitting there, and maybe their situation's a little bit different. Maybe they love where they are, and they don't have the same kind of situation like you did, but they're like, I can do that better.
Sure,
I can do that more. What do you say to them?
So those of us who are entrepreneurs, I think there's something wrong with us. We have a different gene, or something is different about us. So those of you who are listening, you probably know there's something different about you. You just don't know yet what it is, but it's going to happen. I think my best advice is to find your why, and you will figure out how. I knew why I needed to do what I needed to do. I knew I could do it better. I wanted to do it better. I knew people deserved better. There was limited access to people who were giving the quality care that I think people deserved, and I saw that niche, and I figured out how. But if I didn't have a really strong why, some of those doors that I thought were being shut in my face would have made me go look for a job.
Sure.
Yeah. And not only that, but there was one book, whenever you're an entrepreneur, everybody's telling you to read all these books. And I'm like, what kind of time do you guys have? I don't have time. I'm reading in the shower. I'm reading while I'm driving. I'm going to get in a wreck. It's crazy. I have a ton of books I've never cracked. And I hope to get better about time blocking. That's what my new leadership coach, who challenges me a lot, has me working on. But I read Profit First. It was one of the first books that I read.
Awesome.
And I practiced that from the beginning, because my ex-husband, when we were growing that business, I would see that we were always pouring into the business, right? Always, always, always. And Profit First says, you need to pay yourself first. You do, because you matter, and we love what we do, but we're in business because we want to take care of our families. That's why we go to work, or that's why we are in business. And so for those healthcare providers who are out there kind of teetering on the fence, find your why. You'll figure out how. Maybe find a clinic that's not near you that maybe won't view you as competition, and fly out, shadow them, ask the questions, see what it looks like. Find some Facebook groups of those entrepreneurs or those specialists in your field, and ask for help. Sure. I find quite frequently people in Milwaukee, when I post something in some of these Facebook groups, will respond and say, hey, you can call me. You have questions, you can call me. It's so nice. People are genuinely good and want to help you. You just need to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
or reach out to me. I'll answer questions.
There you go. Well, one thing I want to ask you too, and I think it's a question I want to ask everybody. I want to start asking everybody because I think some of those spark conversations are not between two people for entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's a book.
Yeah.
That makes a huge impact. Profit First was a big one. The first chapter made a big impact on me. I mean, the whole process, take everything in balance and take it as a part of a whole. But the realization, kind of the understanding of an entrepreneur's mind, like you said, never paying ourselves and starting off with, 1%, just putting 1% of everything you make in another account. And you see that number go up and you're like, well, that's my money. We can actually make this we can actually make this work. Finding a bookkeeper and a CPA.
Man.
And not doing everything yourself and realizing I can't do everything.
Somebody else said something that I want to drop to people. My financial advisor that I used in the beginning of starting my business said, you can't afford an assistant until you have one. I thought a lot about that. And I got an assistant really quickly.
It's like children.
Yeah. You can't afford one until you have one.
Never afford a child until you have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I think what you taking time with those non-revenue making events and activities make a huge impact.
They do.
In everything.
And they grow you on a personal and professional level. And that's so important to grow in both realms.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are like, I'll never get through a whole book. Yeah, honestly, like you said, we're going to get through a few chapters of every single book that we buy. But we're going to glean something out of every single one of them, even if we're cherry picking throughout the book. Having that resource, I like to have a tangible book. I also have Audible, and I listen to it all the time as much as I can. But being able to have a quick what did Tim Ferriss just say about that? And being able to go back there and look at that helps sharpen. Yeah. Because you're going to get a lot of information overload, and it's not about mastering everything and memorizing everything. You just want to sound familiar when you come into a situation. You go, wait, I remember somebody said, I read something that's going to help me into this. And being able to go back to it and then expand out onto it, and it helps you. It's like networking. It's not about meeting somebody they're going to be able to give you something of great value right then.
Right.
But you never know, because when you get into that situation, you go like, I remember Jim.
Right.
Jim knows all about this, and he can help me through these kind of things.
Yeah, because we all go through the same things.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm finding most of business is just being ready for the opportunity when it comes.
That's right.
And doing everything you possibly can, always learning, always doing something to sharpen yourself, to make things sound more familiar. I'm sure your first day being a nurse, you're like, I don't know where everything goes.
No.
I don't know what it's supposed to look like. I'm not even sure. I can't remember second year AP. I don't know what's happening. And 6 months down the road, now it's old hat.
Right.
Because you jumped in, you did it. Everything sounded familiar at first, but strangely distant and strangely unfamiliar. And then the more you do it, if you just make it a part of everyday life, then business becomes a familiarity and a reflex. More than anything else. So
hard things are not bad things.
Right?
No.
They should be great things.
It's hard.
If you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not trying hard.
Probably
That's
not.
Right.
That's it.
Try to make, and we find those kind of like little mantras that you go every time you meet somebody, every time you read a book. When like you said, because you're good at something doesn't mean you can run a business. And those are going to be mantras that we always kind of remember over and over and over again. And one of them that always comes to me is as a sergeant major said it. He said, just keep pushing, or don't stop. Don't let up. That's the word. Yeah, don't let up.
Yeah.
Don't let up. And he said, every time you come into something and you're like, I have no idea, it's just too much, I've got too much going on, just say, don't let up.
Yeah.
Don't let up. And don't.
No, not an option.
Right? Keeps you from taking that, unnecessary trip here or there down, one path or another, and saying, don't let up, don't let up, don't let up. And those mantras help.
Yeah.
And Derek and I were talking about business failures during the break, and I've branched out and tried some different things since I've started this clinic. This clinic is a huge success, and it's the thing that I like to do, and I do well. So that is always going to be my primary focus. I love obesity medicine, but I opened up a co-working space kind of on the side after seeing some going on in bigger cities, and that's been an adventure, and I like it. I've met a lot of great people, but I don't know that I'll do it forever. It was an itch that I had to scratch, and that's how I like to put it. Some of you guys are out there and you're thinking about starting your own business and you're afraid. I think 20 years from now, when I look back, if this all failed, I'm still going to be satisfied that I did it, that I tried it. I needed to know if it was going to work. True success to me is fulfillment. And I don't think I'd ever be fulfilled if I just sat still and I always wondered, well, what if I did that? And what if I did that? And what if I tried this? What if it doesn't work? So what? Go back and try something else. No failure is really a failure if you learn something.
Sure.
You just pick up and move on.
Yeah.
But what if you never try it? That's scary to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to say is failure is never failure till you quit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always a learning process.
I think the worst thing in the world is to see people who are just so unhappy in what they do every day. You're like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
I have a friend going through nurse practitioner school right now, and she made a C on a test, and she said, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I'm like, what? So we're talking through it, and she was like, what if I don't like being a nurse practitioner? So you go back to being a nurse. You like being a nurse, right? She was like, wouldn't that be stupid? No, not if you don't like what you're doing. It would be stupid to continue doing something that you don't like. So what if you wasted money? We waste money on a lot of things.
That's right.
But spending money on yourself is never a waste.
That's true.
Yeah. Find what moves you. Find what your purpose is, and be really passionate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never a failure.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, you got anything major you want to?
No, I think we covered.
Gosh,
a lot.
We covered a lot of
I
ground.
can talk for days. My patients, I have to tell them, like, let me know when you need to leave.
Gosh. Well, we like having first time guests. We really love having second time guests.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because we want to see how it's progressed. Because you're going to learn a lot more lessons.
Yeah. Got
And
some
I think
exciting
people-
challenges coming up.
Yeah, you do. And we may have to do this remote. Who knows where you're going to end up?
Or I could just fly back.
You may get a surprise and end up in Tokyo, though. You know, I know the military. I know you get those top 3 choices.
We're
you
hoping
only
not.
name 2. So, and as somebody who lived in Jacksonville for several years, I hope you go to Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. You know, I think I'll find a happy spot wherever I'm at. Yeah.
I can tell you a few good places to go in Jacksonville, though, if you get stationed over there. So I was over there during 9/11.
Okay.
I was in high school at the time, but it's a crazy military town for sure.
Yeah.
You think this? I don't even really notice the military that much
Really?
here in
Yeah.
Pensacola. Jacksonville, it's everywhere.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So that and the Naval Air Station's quite literally in the middle of town.
Okay.
So
It'll be an adventure.
yeah, it'll be an adventure. But hey, Virginia Beach is gorgeous too, though.
Okay.
So I tell you, so
Well, this has been one of my favorite podcasts. I've
Oh,
loved all
thank
of
you.
them. I really have. But it's been one of my favorite because I've seen the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you guys being part of the journey. Honestly, sometimes it'll bring tears to my eyes where I'm just like so grateful at the amount of people who were supportive. And you're like, I'm not sure people are going to come. And I don't know if people are going to want to pay because I went from an insurance-based practice to a cash pay practice. And it's like, that's a big jump.
Sure.
But if you provide a lot of value, people recognize that. And if you do right by people, they support you.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I appreciate so much you thinking of me coming on the show.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
didn't have anything planned and I just winged it and it works out.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what Thursday afternoons are for.
That's right.
Okay. It's almost Friday.
It is
right.
almost Friday. But we've enjoyed you, and we look forward to having you come back. We wish you all the success, and hope you
hold you
get a
to it.
good luck of the draw there on the
I hope so.
assignment. So,
You just figure it out.
what was his third choice?
Sometimes I think he didn't tell me everything. I think he said
Hawaii.
Virginia Beach, and Jacksonville, and I'm like, But
doesn't sound right.
deployment is actually what he's going for. It's one of those things where he's like, it's not if but when, and he's got some kids who are going to be teenagers in a couple of years, and he's like, I really just think I need to go and be deployed now, and he's like, how you feel about that? And I'm like, when you find something important to you, you just figure it out.
Sure.
You just
Yeah.
work it out. So that's what we'll do. And then maybe I'll be right back in Pensacola while he's gone on a ship.
There you go. I mean, if you're, I'm assuming Navy.
Navy. Yep. Navy.
Eventually you're going to end up back in Pensacola.
I hope so. I love it here. I love the people here. So it'll be an adventure to see how strangers react to me when nobody knows me.
Well, it's a big family, I know. So it's a unique
culture.
I almost said brotherhood,
Community.
but it's a lot bigger than that. It's it
Yeah.
really is a family.
It is interesting. I've never dated anybody in the military, and it's really interesting how nobody's shy and everybody talks to you and they want to make sure you feel comfortable. And I'm just like, oh.
That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of an alien when I go somewhere, though, because they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, here. They're like, you always been here? Yes.
Really?
Forever. Yeah. I'll tell you guys where to go and what to do.
I didn't know people were born here. I just thought everybody was
No,
transferred here. That was a station.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
Well, good travels wherever you end up.
Thank you.
Stay in touch with us for sure.
I will
know,
always be back. This is home.
I know Derek and Ashley,
That's
Alicia.
my sister-in-law.
Oh, man. Okay.
Alicia will keep us informed on it and all.
Yeah.
We'll have you on again as soon as we can.
I'm going to hold you to it.
All right. Thank you. And thank you guys for joining us on the ARC Entrepreneur Podcast.